No way! Konami actually answered our questions about the latest Genesis format update? Make sure you guys smash the little crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Yes, our Enchanted Double Deck box is up. If you guys are interested in picking one of these up, I will leave a link down below so you guys can grab yours today. Alright, so Konami made this very, very nice article, and I wanted to talk about this because this is the kind of communication that I wish that we would love to be able to get on the actual main format. And you know what? I think that this is kind of cool. So was this month's point update what you were expecting? If you haven't seen it yet, you can check the changelog here. There's been a lot of chatter about the update, and we wanted to take some time to answer some of the more common questions about the changes and how the numbers got to where they are. So let's begin. So, why didn't Radiant Typhoon Vision get any points while Rescue Ace Impulse did? So basically, up through the previous format, Impulse and Fire Attacker were basically being splashed in, oh my god, as many different decks as you could think that people would be splashing them in. And it was becoming a very big problem. So what they ended up doing was they adjusted Airlifter and Impulse to basically counter-adjust this. So the reasoning here is it's a matter of what people were playing and not playing in the deck list we have access to. In the data we have, Impulse is all over the place, but Vision is almost exclusively used by Radiant Typhoon, which is its home. Now, this is kind of true, but there was things like Generator that were playing it in a couple of other decks. The fact that this question is coming up at all means that there must be a lot of Genesis play going on that we aren't seeing, which is good. The more people are playing, the better, but if you want your gameplay to affect the overall format, we want to see those deck lists and tournament results. So they want you to post them on hashtag YGOGenesis. So they are looking, which I do think after this point change, I think it's very apparent that Radiant Typhoon might be more of a long-term problem than I think they were kind of expecting it to be. But, you know, they talk about generic draw power being issues within a format. And if they are, you know, saying, hey, you know, if this is actually something that is seeing a problem, you know, start to get in that tournament data so we can start to see that. Now, this one is interesting. So how did you come up with the 11-11-33 point spread for Vanquish Soul? So the main goals for Vanquish Soul's point adjustment were to reduce Holly Sue's outsized impact on duels, which I mean, it was broken. Especially turn one of duels and to keep her away from Ash Blossom while making sure that Vanquish Soul decks that look more like the Agov era version stay legal. We wanted running more than one Holy Sue to disrupt the basic foundation of the deck and at least do something strange like go all in on Vanquish Soul start with lower counts of Rosins, for instance. The set of numbers that both accomplishes this goal and we think the easiest to understand and work with while deck building. So 11-11-33, but remember, nothing's permanent. If you want to run 3-3-1 of Rosin Jaw Long Holy Sue, that's 99, and you get to keep the band together, minus Ash Blossom, and etc. But you also skip Holy Sue completely, and if you run 3-2-3 for Rosin Jaw Long Ash Blossom for 100 and keep the advantage of having Ash Blossom in the deck, while most other decks aren't running it or considering it in their lines of play. This is akin to what people were playing after Jaw Long's release. Other parameters are also possible, and the Vanquish Soul cards are still very popular and easy to pull out of the deck, so we expect Vanquish Soul to still be a strong deck. That's interesting. Even with all of the limitations that they have put onto Vanquish Soul here, they are still expecting this to be one of the stronger decks within the room. Now, I've heard from, you know, some players that this might not be the case. And this is the other counterbalancing thing here. They specifically mention Ash Blossom here because Ash is a fire. Ash's power within this deck is so much greater than you might be thinking it is. It's kind of crazy to think about that Ash actually can be a little bit of a problem in, the sense of what you're experiencing here. But I do find it interesting that Konami, they're a lot more competent than I think we give them credit for some days. So this next one has been, I think, one of the most important questions. Why didn't 7 Tachyon get any points? And this has been kind of troublesome by a lot of the community. So the short answer is that it costs you a card in hand and at least in one extra deck slot and locks you into Exceeds on resolution. The combination of which made it inconvenient for general use, being limited to just one type of strategy, Exceeds. Well, unfortunately, Exceed is one of the bigger, things within this format. We don't have Link and we don't have Pendulum. So, we run into some core fundamental issues there, so which makes it harder to reach the point where it would justify adding points to it, even though it's a strong card and cast a wide net. For the long answer, let's take a look at the type of searchers whose role 7 Tachyon upserts in the decks that play it. Oh my god, there is a lot here. So Reinforcements in the Army, Fire Formation, Tenki, Fossil Dig, Emergency Teleport are all at 35 at the new update. Gallon Grant and Infernal Flame Banshee are 33. Bonfire is also 33, same as Banshee. Nightmare Apprentice dropped from 40 to 20 and Signet Mining to 0. Why Signet Mining to 0? It's not just because Link monsters aren't allowed. It's because the cost to discard a card to use, and Nightmare Apprentice also discards a card but was priced at the same rate as the other type of searches because it is effectively free to being used as an illusion monster and gets to keep a wall up and so forth. We lowered it more than the other spells on this list because we don't think the prior points properly weigh on the fact that there was a discard in the first place. Okay. 7 Tachyon cast a much wider net than Signet Mining, but also costs the extra deck space and Exceed locks you. The more apt comparison would be Small World, whose net is even wider than 7 Tachyon's, and the fact that it is wider with all of the cards we're discussing, that card costs you a monster from the hand to bridge a card from the deck, a significant amount of braining power, and 0 points. The cost range and convenience of 7 Tachyon places squarely between Signet Mining and Small World, both 0, and so the initial value was 0. Hey, I guess they're never going to point this card. As to why it wasn't increased and it's not just being used in enough, the Exceed decks were largely underrepresented, and it's not seeing widespread use of a Pot of Extravagance or even Upstart, which makes sense seeing as those lock you into Exceed. Many other cards in the format focus on Fusion Synchro. So as of right now, nothing we have shows it is out of line. It's interesting. So with the points added on Flying Sea, it's possible that the Exceed deck can roar back and dominate the Pittsburgh qualifiers and Invitational, push away decks that can't use 7 Tachyon, but it's difficult to imagine such a drastic shift. That said, this card and Small World are both cards we are keeping an eye on. Okay, so why did BLs go from 0 to 100? So the same FTK trick, it's been up in the last decade ever since Red Eyes Flare Metal was released. Basically, you summon both monsters, use an effect to give BLs to your opponent, then damage them in any way. This sets off an infinite loop with BLs, activating its gain attack and Flare Metal dealing damage as a result, ending the game immediately. Since a couple of Synchro Dragons with the same effects released, as well as Mind Castle, which makes the exchange easier to do. One person brought the Blackwing version to the deck with Blackwing Assault to the qualifiers, and that was enough for it to get kicked out of the party. Congratulations, you did your job. Why didn't Dimensional Shifters cost go up? It's barely getting played. It's just as simple as that. We all know the chatter about it, and it's not just showing up in many deck lists so far. As a general rule, if the card's played a lot, it'll go up. Cards not being played a lot, even with the Exosister variants, are cutting it. So that actually explains that. And what in the world happened to the branded extra deck? A Fallen and Virtuous card was made, going to become the best in-slot generic quick play removal. And if we didn't cost both it and the extra deck monsters, and you get another copy of it, or another card in general, the numbers probably look limiting for all of you. But branded fans out there, we've made sure that branded's base strategy is still viable. If you don't look at the branded decks you're familiar with, yeah, We're already seeing strategy guides being posted for new point cost on how to make the deck still work. As always, keep a close eye on that. Okay, so yeah, it's just not the standard branded you're used to. And then, are you hiding in my walls? No, that's weird. Happy Halloween. And we look forward to seeing what's coming out in Pittsburgh. So branded's still viable. Shifter isn't being complained about, or it's being complained about, but it's not doing anything. BL's needed to go, thanks to the one person that brought the FTK and showed it to the world. 7 Tachyon is on a watch list. Vanquish Soul, they're expecting it to do better, but we'll see next point adjustment. And Radiant Vision is also, I'm going to assume, on a list right now. But interesting. So please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I will see your beautiful faces back here in day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.